highest deportation rates. Some of the biggest forms of deportation has been from the fact that some of the biggest forms of deportation have been from self-deportations, from people just voluntarily leaving. So in this slide, we're going to be talking about, well, how can you stay in the United States? And thank you for all of you who are joining live. You can put your questions in the chat, and we are answering questions about different ways to stay lawfully in the United States. If you missed the last live that we had earlier this week, it was specifically on J1 waivers, and you can check that out on our YouTube channel under the live section. And my name is Kosha Granchad. I'm an immigration attorney, been practicing over 23 years. And we're going to just be talking about different ways that you can stay here lawfully. So let's dive right into it. So there's a variety of ways to, if you're here on what's called like a non-immigrant visa, that's not a permanent visa, that's a visa temporarily in the United States. So examples of that would be like a visitor visa or a F1 visa or a J1 visa. If you are here, you have to maintain lawful status. So it's really important that you maintain your lawful status. If you're coming towards the end of the status, then you need to, in order to stay in the United States, look at either extending your stay, if that's possible, or changing to another lawful status. So for instance, that could be an F1 changing to an H1B visa. That would be a classic example where you're finishing school, maybe you're doing optional practical training, then you're applying for an H1B visa. And maintaining that lawful status, or if you've met a loved one, if let's say you're marrying a US citizen, then in that situation, while you are here in the United States, if you have either of those applications pending, one like changing to another visa, welcome to those of you who have joined our live. We're talking about how to stay lawfully in the United States, answering some different questions, and you would love to hear where you are viewing from. We're talking about right now, if you're here on what visa, what you need to do in order to stay lawfully here. And hi, I'm W4254. Love to hear where you're watching from. You're from YouTube. And so, for instance, if you're here on a J visa or a F1, for those of you who are just joining, we're talking about how can you continue to stay lawfully here. Well, and thank you for posting your questions. We have some questions, and just go ahead and post your questions in the chat. We're going to be answering, right now we're answering about ways to stay lawful. And one question we have here is regarding someone who's in U visa status. So that is the U visa status is an option if you are here and you're out of status. You could also change to a U visa status, but many people qualify for U visa if you've been the victim of violent crime, participated with police, and have been helpful with police. That is an option for you. It also overcomes multiple lawful entries. So in that option, that you can apply for that even if you are out of status. The best case scenario is you don't get out of status. You're able to change to a lawful status, but not everyone has that option. You might have entered without a visa, for instance, and you need to look at the U visa option or the T visa option, or another option if you're out of status is the Violence Against Women Act. VAWA could be an option for you as well. If you were abused and you had you were previously married to a U.S. citizen. So the next question we have here is, can you stay in the United States while you have your application pending? So you can stay in the United States while your application is pending. So let's look at that. Like, let's say December 5th, 2025, your application, you're going to go out of status. So in that situation, then what can you do? If you apply, let's say you apply a week before then, can you continue to stay in the United States? Well, yes, you can continue to stay in the United States if you did submit your application timely, and it was a valid application, it wasn't a frivolous one, then you're allowed to stay while your application is pending. So another example of that, let's say you're applying for a marriage-based green card. While that's pending, you could apply for work authorization, continue to stay here in the United States. Now, if the application gets denied, then in most situations, you have to leave the United States. And now with green card applications, they are much more, well, they're much more likely to issue what's called a notice to appear in that situation if you do get denial. Okay, we have another question here. I applied for a U visa June 13th, 2017. How long does it take? We recently got some approved a little within a few months of that. So it's taking over 8 years right now. So what we're seeing is that hopefully that you will be able to get a decision shortly. And if you get, we've gotten a decision for that like early 2017. So I'm hoping, Reggie, that you'll be getting a decision like within 6 months. That's what we're seeing in general. And we got a comment here from Marco Caruso. Thank you so much for the feedback that you love our content. And if you like our content, just let us know like more of what you would like to see, because that helps me decide like what kind of content is helpful to you. Today's topic right now is specifically how to stay lawfully in the United States, or what to do if you are out of status. So now the next question is, well, what happens if you fall out of status? I know like most people try to follow the law, try to maintain lawful status, but some situations that's not possible. You overstayed your visa, whatever, life happened. What can you do? So let's look at some different options. One, I already mentioned the U visa is an option earlier. The T visa is an option to explore. It's not just for sex trafficking. It also could be for certain types of work violations as well. So you want to contact our office. And if you have questions, you can reach out to us at 916-613-3553. And you can schedule a consultation with us to learn more, or post your questions below, and I'll try my best to get to all of them as well. If you're watching this live later on as well, just go ahead and post your comments as well. And let me know where you are viewing from. I like to know where people are viewing and watching from. All right, so we have a lot of people here from YouTube, some from Facebook, and Instagram. Okay, so looking at the other options, we talked about the U visa. Let's say you came here without a visa, and if you came here without a visa, and you ended up marrying a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident, then you might be eligible for an I-601A waiver. In that situation, that overcomes the unlawful presence. So that could be another way to overcome the fact that you've also are here in the United States without a visa. All right, we're going to move on to the next question. How do you make sure that you don't get out of status in the first place? Well, make sure you're keeping track of what is on your I-94. So a lot of times when I'm having consultations, they'll say, well, I have a 10-year visa. And I think people get confused between how long you're allowed to stay in the United States and like how long, and the visa stamp. The visa stamp is like how long that visa stamp is good for, which is different from how long you're allowed to stay in the United States. If you come in, your I-94 will tell you how long you're allowed to stay and where you're authorized stay in the U.S. The visa stamp just tells you when you have to apply for the visa again. So if you have a 10-year, for instance, if your visa stamp's good for 10 years, that doesn't mean you can stay in the United States for 10 years. It's what's controlling is your I-94. If you're a student, your I-20 or your DS-2019, if you've extended that. Okay. Now, in order to maintain lawful status, you need to do it before you fall out of status. Now, there's some exceptions. For instance, if you marry, like if you have an immediate relative or you're applying for a green card, you can still apply even if you've fallen out of status. But those exceptions are they're pretty specific. So you want to make sure that best case is just make sure that you are keeping track of your I-94 when your status ends, so you don't violate your status. And the next question, what are some mistakes that lead to being out of status? Well, one mistake is not complying with the terms of your visa. So what does that mean? Like, let's say you come here on an F1 visa and then you start working. Well, that's not complying with the terms of your visa. That's violating the terms of your visa. So that's something that could make you fall out of status, and that could possibly cause you to have future issues as well. So you want to make sure that whatever you come here for your visa to do is what you do. For instance, also like a visitor visa, you're coming here to visit. You're not supposed to work while you're here visiting. And those are issues that also could come out, like if you're traveling back and forth, if you're here on a visitor visa at the port of entry, they might start asking you questions about like, what were you doing? They could ask you for your phone, and if you consent to giving it, they could look at your WhatsApp, see what you were doing. I've had several consultations where we've had to file waivers for people where they were put into expedited removal at the border because of the fact that they came in as visitors, questions were asked, they saw a picture of, for instance, of someone grooming a dog, and they accused the person of working. So in that situation, we had to file for a waiver because of the fact that there was a finding that they misrepresented the what they were doing while they're here on the visa, and they weren't following the terms of what their visa allowed them to do. So that's just something that's really important to be mindful of, because I don't want that to happen to you. And if you have questions, you can post them in the comments. Hi, Kelly. Great to see you here as well. And, go ahead and post your comments. The other important component here is make sure that you file your applications timely. So that is extremely important before your status expires. All right. Well, I am going to call it a day today unless I see any more comments coming up. And want to thank you all for joining. We're going to continue to do these lives. If you would like to see a topic that you would like me to cover, please post it in the comments so I know, and that'll help me decide on like what our next topic is going to be. All right. Bye for now, and have a great weekend.